The Eggening. Octavia was always well-organized and a responsible pony until one day she started finding eggs every time she woke up. Read as Octavia deals with madness of the situation. She was sure of one thing only: it is all Vinyl's fault somehow. Written by Cinder Vel.
'Twas another usual day in Ponyville, where citizens were counting days since the last disaster that had befallen their quiet community. The sun was slowly being raised on the horizon because Celestia hated fun and thought we should all be productive members of society. Octavia, the prim and proper pony that she was, woke up with the sun. She was very strict with her morning regime, as it was key for a productive day. Completely unlike her housemate and resident slacker Vinyl, Vinyl's sleeping habits were a bit of a mystery, and when asked about it, she would merely shrug and mumble, "What?" And so, Octavia opened her eyes, removed the blanket, and was greeted by an odd surprise. An egg-shaped surprise. Octavia blinked once. She blinked another time, and the egg was stubbornly still there. She extended her hoof to touch the egg, and lo, it was really there. She blinked one more time, just to be sure. Eventually, she loudly proclaimed,
"Blimey! It's too early for this blight."
The culprit was obvious, but Octavia had more important things to take care of first. It would be rather tardy of her first to not have a shower, brush her teeth, and get dressed, and move the bloody egg somewhere else besides her bed. After the morning ritual was complete, it was not hard to find the spot where Vinyl was sleeping. Today it happened to be on her soundboard, no doubt passing out after spending the night on it. Octavia gently nudged Vinyl and whispered,
"Vinyl!
Vinyl lazily waved her hoof in Octavia's direction.
Vinyl, rise and shine."
Vinyl again waved her hoof, and this time she booped Octavia's nose.
"Vinyl, wake up."
Lazily, Vinyl slightly opened her eyes. Satisfied, Octavia proceeded with questioning the culprit.
"Would you mind explaining to me why there's an egg in my bed?"
Vinyl merely rolled over, turning her back to Octavia. Octavia's eyes narrowed as she was losing her patience.
"Oh, don't even pretend you don't know. How else could an egg have ended up in my bed?"
Vinyl mumbled.
Chickens, egg layings.
Octavia's eyes twitched a bit.
"Are you implying that I'm a bloody chicken? You..."
Octavia stopped herself to regain her composure. Calmly, she continued.
"I will let your little jest slide for now. Now I'm going to make breakfast. We'll have to wait a bit longer today as a consequence of your action."
Satisfied, Octavia returned to her morning duties, leaving Vinyl still drooling on her soundboard. Vinyl opened her eyes, and with a hoarse voice, said,
You said something, Davy?
Yet another day was up, and all was the same as before. Yes, Celestia still insisted on there being a sunrise, and by some surprise, there was no disaster in Ponyville. With the morning sunshine, Octavia opened her eyes. With a little yawn, she removed the blanket and was ready to start her day. And then she saw an egg. She blinked once as the egg was still there. She decided to skip directly to touching the egg. She sighed and face hoofed.
Bloody hell, she did it again.
After rushing through her morning routine, Octavia started searching for the guilty pony. This time she found herself lying on the kitchen table. Some would wonder how this happened, but Octavia did not care at the moment. Not so gently. She pushed Vinyl with a slightly higher voice, spoke,
You placed an egg in my bed again, you twig!
Vinyl's ears twitched as she slowly opened her eyes. Half yawning, she spoke.
What egg?
The egg in my bed. The one you placed there. Again, if I might add.
Vinyl stared confused at visibly irritated Octavia. Octavia stared back, still expecting an adequate response. Eventually, Vinyl decided to end the staring contest. With a smile, she said,
Maybe you laid it?
Octavia's eye twitched. Vinyl gulped and was a tiny bit scared now. Then suddenly she blinked and started laughing.
Nice try, Tavy. You almost got me. But you need to work on your pranking more if you want to trick a pro like me.
Octavia was flabbergasted.
I beg your pardon?
Vinyl then explained.
Elementary, my dear Octavia. You thought I would be caught off guard, but you had to get up pretty early in the morning to pull one over me. Well, unless you did actually lay an egg.
Unfortunately, Octavia was not amused.
Fine then, you can make your own breakfast today instead.
As Octavia walked away, Vinyl scratched her head in confusion, but then decided to go back to sleep, until she rolled over and fell off the table. Same as before, a new day dawned. Despite the petition being signed by the ponies of Manhattan, there were simply not enough signatures to change Celestia's mind, and so the sun was being raised again. In Ponyville, meanwhile, there were worried whispers about the town being too quiet. Octavia opened her eyes, and was already in a bad mood. She removed the blanket, and again, a new egg waited for her. Skipping the blanking ceremony, she angrily stopped out of her room to find Vinyl, only to remember that she had almost forgotten to take a shower, brush her teeth, and get dressed and so on. Once done, she searched and found Vinyl sleeping on the couch like an adorable little angel. For a tiny fraction of a moment, she was proud of Vinyl for sleeping on something sensible for once. It didn't stop her from shaking Vinyl to wake her up, though.
Hey, what gives?
Octavia, with grim, narrow looks, stared at Vinyl. She growled.
Seriously?
Yeah, seriously? You know I have a train later today for Manhattan, and I'll be performing all night.
And yet you had time to plant an egg in my bed, and now you'll probably proceed to imply that I laid it like a chicken.
Well, you are nagging like one.
Vinyl rolled her eyes. Octavia's eyes were opened wide as she shrieked.
What?
Vinyl rubbed her eyes and sighed.
Listen, Tavy, I'm real proud of you for trying to prank me, but it really is not the time. Maybe sometime later I can give you a few pointers.
Octavia was fuming with rage.
I'm not pulling a prank on you! You git? I know it is you who are putting bloody eggs in my bed, and I want you to stop your childish behavior!
Look, I'll be gone for the weekend. So if you are right, then the eggs will be gone. Now, if you'll excuse me.
And with those words, Vinyl covered her head and returned back to sleep. Octavia huffed and stomped out while thinking of horrible ways of how to torture a certain egg-planting pony that happened to live under the same roof. Of course, a new day dawned. Celestia was suspicious by the lack of complaints today, but nevertheless proceeded to raise the sun as planned. Meanwhile, in Ponyville, dark storm clouds were brewing, and everyone knew something bad was going to happen. Octavia woke up. She tossed the blanket and saw an egg. Her eye automatically started twitching, and she rushed out of her room. This time, nothing was going to save Vinyl from her. Enough was enough. Octavia checked Vinyl's room and then proceeded to the kitchen, the living room, and the bathroom until realization hit her. Vinyl was not home. And if Vinyl was not home, then she couldn't have planted the egg. Octavia shivered as she realized that all this time, her friend wasn't playing a prank on her. Someone had been snaking into her room while she was sleeping. The thought made her very pale. No, Octavia Melody had to steel herself. If someone dared to intrude her personal space, she had to be ready. And so, the next day finally dawned. There was an attempted coup in Canterlot as angry ponies tried to stop Celestia from raising the sun, but all they did was merely delay the inevitable. And in Ponyville, a disaster struck but was quickly resolved by Princess Twilight and copious amounts of pancakes. Octavia, meanwhile, was sitting on her bed motionlessly. Whole night she spent awake waiting for the mysterious intruder with her trusty attack cello by her side. As the late sun emerged through her window, she winced. Whole night and nothing happened. Well, there was someone screaming outside, but Octavia learned long ago not to worry about that. So she stood up and was ready to return to normalcy, until she saw it. Nested underneath her, an egg. Octavia slowly raised her head up. Her pupils shrank and her right eye twitched wildly. She started giggling, which slowly grew into a mad laughter. She cackled like a maniac, without even taking a break for breath. And then she said, "Yuck!" 'Twas another day in Ponyville, and citizens once again were starting to count the number of days since the last disaster. The sun was slowly being raised on the horizon, and no pony dared to speak about it. Vinyl was returning from her wild trip, and after 2 days of no sleep, she was exhausted. She was looking forward to just fall down and never wake up again. So, she entered her room and was surprised to see that it was rather messy. Well, messy for Octavia's quality standards. Curious was also that Octavia was nowhere to be seen, and yet the sun was up and Vinyl knew that Octavia should be making breakfast right about now. After checking the entire house, Vinyl entered Octavia's room. Vinyl raised her glasses and then she blinked. She blinked once more just to be sure. Octavia, completely disheveled, was sitting smiling on her bed that was now a nest. Vinyl opened her mouth but no voice came out. Octavia smiled at Vinyl and cheerfully spoke.
Vinyl, so nice that you're back. Did you have a good time in Manhattan?
Vinyl tried to produce words.
Tavy, what?
I'm sitting on my eggs, you silly. The ones I've been laying on for the past week. Brat?
Vinyl nervously laughed.
Oh, right, the egg thing. Good work, Tavy, you got me. You can stop now. Please.
Octavia then stood up, revealing a cluster of eggs.
Vinyl, would you like to meet my little darlings? Aren't they just adorable?
Vinyl slowly backed up and closed the door. She tried to process what she had seen, but her brain refused to function. She gave up and went to bed. Which is exactly what I would have done, too.